Not a remake, a
This is
new
Metroid
entry.
Dread. Bring on Dread.
Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here. And are you wondering why we acted a bit like this?
Wow, that's cool.
Is it Dread?
Look at that!
Is it called
Look
Dread?
At that!
Metroid. It's called Dread!
It is!
Yes!
They full sended that.
All this time!
This video will contain spoilers for the events of Metroid Fusion and Samus Returns and likely the Metroid series at large. Metroid 5 has been one of the most important elements of Metroid discussion for around 2 decades, and that title, Dread, has always been at the forefront of it all. The last game in the mainline series, Metroid Fusion, released 19 years ago in 2002, and it was by no means the end of Samus' story. Fusion concludes with many unanswered questions. After discovering the Galactic Federation were cloning Metroids and planned to capture the SAX and X-Parasites to use as bioweapons, she disobeys all orders and crashes the BSL ship into SR-388 to rid the world of all their research, and Metroids and the X-Parasite. Samus seemingly destroyed everything. We don't know how the Galactic Federation retaliated, but it's very possible that Samus is now a fugitive. And in Nintendo's development history video, series producer Sakamoto shares the Nemesis-style robot called Emmy is owned by the Galactic Federation. Are they attempting to kill Samus, or has someone taken over them? During this video, we caught a glimpse of the prologue of Metroid Dread. This recreates key moments from Metroid Fusion, and will very likely bridge the gap between that title and Dread. So, did the 19-year speculation for Metroid 5 simply derive from a desire for answers? No. Metroid Dread has been officially spoken by name multiple times since 2005, and that was far from a single instance over the 16-year span. The first official sighting came from Game Informer. In their June 2005 issue, Metroid Dread appeared as a 2006 DS game in the lineup. Following this, IGN reported a very similar thing. They state they got hold of an official internal Nintendo software list, revealing a number of DS titles coming in the future. All games on this list were eventually announced, that is, except for one. And what solidified this even further was the official Nintendo magazine. In the March 2006 issue, Metroid Dread was listed for releasing that very year. Few details were known about Metroid Dread, other than the title, the platform being DS, and the launch year being 2006. But 2006 came and went, and not only did Metroid Dread not release, but we didn't catch a single glimpse of it. It was hard to feel too much dismay when Metroid as a series had so much going on at the time. In 2005, we had the brilliant Metroid Prime Pinball. In 2006, Prime Hunters filled the gap, and in 2007 we got Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. But this game only fueled the speculation. Towards the very end of Prime 3 on the Space Pirate homeworld, if you make your way towards the Metroid processing room, you'll find numerous Space Pirate experiments. Like most Prime scan logs, the majority of these simply revolve around the lore and world building of the Prime universe. But one has become the core pillar of Metroid Dread even after all these years. Experiment Status Report. Metroid Project Dread is nearing the final stages of completion. Fans had every reason to believe that Metroid Dread's release was imminent, and we hadn't even seen the game. Years would pass, and while rumours and supposed leaks would continue to wage on, Metroid Dread never surfaced. In September 2010, GamesTM published an interview with Sakamoto and inquired about the status of Metroid Dread. He responded, "I cannot deny the existence of such a project in the past, but I cannot say if it's what I'll move on to next or not. I'm sorry, but would like to keep that game a mystery. After all, there's been a lot of speculation surrounding Dread, and my hope, if at all possible, is to reset the situation at once and start from scratch." And the remarkable thing is that happened. Twice. During the development video, Sakamoto states that yes, Metroid Dread was cancelled twice. It was intended to release in the early days of the DS, but development didn't get very far. Many years later, and development started officially again, but Sakamoto simply couldn't complete his vision with the hardware limitations at hand. What's more astonishing is Dread isn't simply a name. The story, concept, and gameplay ideas imagined in 2005 are the very ones being used in 2021. This truly is a game 16 years in the making. In 2014, this concept art leaked online. This showcased a more angular Samus and a monster. This was created by an artist at Next Level Games. And again, this goes even further. It appears Next Level Games were pitching to develop their own Metroid title, and if this went forward, it could have very well become Dread, but instead, they got Luigi's Mansion 2. While Metroid was never stated, this Iwata's ask definitely goes hand in hand with the concept art. In the Iwata Asks for Luigi's Mansion 2, Iwata says, "What was your impression of Next Level Games when you first heard about the project?" Bryce from Next Level replies, At the time, we were actually involved with a completely different project for Nintendo, and one day we had a video conference about that. Chad from Next Level chimes in. We had made a prototype in preparation for that meeting, and Tanabe-san suddenly started something like a drum roll and said, "You're gonna make Luigi's Mansion 2, and I was so surprised I could barely speak. The time frame matches up very well with the concept art, and it's very likely Next Level were demonstrating a Metroid prototype when they were given Luigi's Mansion 2 instead. However, behind the scenes, Sakamoto was looking for a studio to take on Metroid. The development structure at Nintendo had changed, and Nintendo R&D 1, who handled Metroid Fusion, essentially didn't exist anymore. Metroid would start its resurgence in 2016 with Metroid Prime Federation Force. Next Level Games did eventually get their Metroid project, and while it probably wasn't what they were pitching for, it was important for the future of Metroid. Those who finished Federation Force know that it set the scene for Metroid Prime 4. Metroid had hope again. While Prime was enjoying its resurgence, Sakamoto wasn't ready to let go of the idea for Metroid Dread. He sought out to find a studio to set the groundwork. This of course became Mercury Steam, who proved themselves by reimagining Metroid 2 in Metroid Samus Returns. And again, for those who finished it, we've known since 2017 that Metroid 5 was on the way. For finding all the collectibles in Samus Returns, the gallery would be interrupted with an entirely new story. These were the Chozo memories. It depicts the Chozo coming to SR388 to investigate Aeon, but through their venture they discover the X-Parasite, the most deadly substance in the Metroid universe and the main threat of Metroid Fusion. So to combat the X-Parasite, the Chozo created Metroids. This was a major reveal of Samus Returns and the origin story of the entire franchise. The Metroids were able to defeat the X-Parasite and allow the Chozo to explore even further through SR388. However, while the Metroids obeyed the Chozo initially, they began to evolve the longer they stayed on the planet and attacked the Chozo. They had no choice but to seal away the Metroids by creating gates, and of course in the game, Samus has to unlock these. The plan was to simply contain the Metroids and keep the galaxy at peace. When greeted by another clan of Chozo, it initially seems their plan was successful. Metroids will live stranded on this planet forever, but then this happens. This is a bonus memory called Memory 2D. Many fans correctly assumed this was a tease for a brand new 2D Metroid game. Here, the Chozo clan that came to greet the other Chozo simply killed them. There's a lot of questions to be answered. In fact, there's a Chozo in the Dread trailer, and it resembles the leader near perfectly, right down to the orbs in the shoulders. Are Chozo the antagonists of Metroid Dread? Most likely. Metroid Dread has a complicated history through simple listings, interviews, and even multiple in-game hints. And even with Samus Returns pretty much guaranteeing the existence of Metroid 5, it was still a shock, especially seeing the words Metroid Dread. It's finally real, after all this time. So let us know your guys' history of Metroid Dread in the comments below. Were you speculating around 15 years ago, or is this your first time hearing about it? Thank you for watching, and be sure to not dread that subscribe button because it's a nice friend. It's a nice Chozo, not evil. And we'll see you next time. Bye everyone.